In the quiet town of Springdale, where justice often met power, Dr. Monique Turner, a renowned heart surgeon, was called into a life-or-death situation. Monique, celebrated across the nation for her exceptional skills, had built her career on saving lives against all odds. That night, as she prepared to leave her Boston clinic, she received an urgent call from Police Chief Alan Davis. His 16-year-old daughter, Lily, had suffered a massive heart attack, and local doctors lacked the expertise to save her. Without hesitation, Monique agreed to help. Her journey to Springdale, however, took an unexpected turn. As she drove through a desolate road, 2 police officers pulled her over without cause. The officers, harboring deep-seated prejudices, decided to harass Monique, making baseless accusations and ignoring her explanations. The confrontation grew tense as Monique, a black woman, faced the officers' racist attitudes. Despite the delay, Monique's determination didn't waver. She knew that every second counted. After a prolonged and stressful encounter, she was finally allowed to continue her journey. She arrived at the hospital, where Lily lay in critical condition. The tension in the room was palpable as Monique prepared for surgery. With her skill and composure, she successfully performed the life-saving operation, bringing Lily back from the brink. The incident with the officers didn't go unnoticed. Word spread throughout Springdale, sparking outrage among the community. The townspeople, appalled by the blatant racism displayed by the officers, demanded accountability. The event became a catalyst for change, initiating discussions about race and justice in the small town. Monique's resilience and dedication not only saved a young girl's life, but also ignited a movement for equality and fairness. Her story became a symbol of strength and hope, showing that even in the face of adversity, one person's courage can make a difference. As the town began to heal and grow, Monique returned to her practice, knowing that her actions had left an indelible mark on Springdale. The road to justice was long, but the first steps had been taken. Dr. Monique Turner's SUV raced down the dark highway, the distant lights of Springdale guiding her path. With Lily's life hanging by a thread, every second counted. Monique's mind was a whirlwind of medical procedures and past battles. Each moment she had fought to prove her worth in a world that often underestimated her for being a black woman in medicine. As she sped towards Springdale, memories of her early career surfaced. She recalled the skeptical glances and whispered doubts at medical conferences, the unspoken question lingering in the air. How could a black woman excel in such a demanding field? But Monique had always met those doubts with quiet determination. Each life she saved was a testament to her skill and an answer to those who questioned her place. The weight of the night's mission bore heavily on her. She knew that Sheriff Davis's plea wasn't just a call for a doctor. It was a father's desperate cry for help. Monique understood the depth of his fear. For Lily, the 16-year-old girl clinging to life, Monique was more than a surgeon. She was hope. As the city lights of Springdale grew nearer, Monique's focus sharpened. She couldn't afford to think about the obstacles or the biases she had faced. Her purpose was clear: save Lily. She gripped the steering wheel tighter, her thoughts aligning with the rhythm of her speeding SUV. Every beat echoed the urgency of Lily's failing heart. The road stretched out before her, but in her mind, the destination was already in sight. Monique's resolve was unbreakable. She would arrive in time. She would perform the surgery, and she would defy every doubt, just as she had done throughout her career. For Monique, the drive to Springdale wasn't just a journey. It was another battle in a life defined by resilience, and a commitment to proving that talent and compassion transcended all barriers. Monique took a deep breath, her fingers tightening slightly on the steering wheel. She maintained her composure, a practiced calmness masking the unease that stirred within her. The 2 officers' scrutinizing gazes reminded her of the many times she had been judged not by her credentials or accomplishments, but by the color of her skin. "I'm a doctor," Monique began, her voice steady but firm. "I'm on my way to the hospital in Springdale. There's a young girl there in critical condition, and I've been called to perform emergency surgery." The officer holding her license raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. "At this hour? What kind of emergency requires that kind of speed?" Monique met his gaze, refusing to let the tension in the air shake her resolve. "A life-threatening emergency. Every minute counts." The officer's partner shifted slightly, his hand still near his gun, his posture tense. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air, a silent testament to the underlying prejudices that had followed Monique throughout her life. She could see the doubt in their eyes, the hesitation to believe her story simply because of who she was. "This isn't the place for you to be driving like that," the officer said, a hint of disdain in his voice. "People around here don't take kindly to strangers speeding through." Monique felt her heartbeat quicken, but she didn't let her voice waver. "I understand your concerns, officer, but I need to get to the hospital. A young girl's life is at stake." For a moment, silence stretched between them, the officers exchanging a glance. Finally, the one holding her documents handed them back, his expression unreadable. "Drive safe," he muttered, stepping back towards the patrol car. Monique didn't waste a second. She put the SUV in gear and drove off, the hospital lights now clearly visible in the distance. The encounter had been tense, a stark reminder of the societal hurdles she constantly faced, but Monique's focus remained unwavering. She had a mission to complete, and no prejudice, no delay, would stand in her way. As the hospital loomed closer, Monique's thoughts turned back to Lily. This night was about more than just a surgery. It was a testament to Monique's resilience and commitment to saving lives, no matter the obstacles. Monique's heart pounded as the officer brandished his gun, his face twisted in anger. The gravity of the situation was clear, but Monique knew she had to remain calm. Raising her hands slightly, she met his gaze, her voice firm yet controlled. "I am not here to threaten anyone. I am here to save a life." The tension was suffocating. The other officer shifted uneasily, his earlier smugness replaced with uncertainty. "Put the gun down, Jim," he said, his tone less confident now. "Let's just call the sheriff and clear this up." Jim hesitated, the gun still trained on Monique, but the weight of the situation seemed to press on him. Slowly, he lowered his weapon, though his glare remained fixed on her. The second officer pulled out his radio and made the call. A few agonizing minutes passed. Monique sat still, her mind racing with thoughts of Lily, who was waiting for her at the hospital. The second officer finally spoke into his radio, then looked up, his face pale. "It's true," he muttered. "Sheriff Davis confirmed everything. She's the doctor he called." Jim's expression faltered, and he looked at Monique with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. "Fine," he grumbled, shoving her papers back at her. "Get out of here." Monique didn't wait for further permission. She started her SUV, her hands trembling slightly, and drove off towards the hospital. The encounter left a bitter taste, a reminder of the ever-present barriers she faced as a black woman, even in moments of urgency and compassion. As the hospital came into view, Monique pushed the experience aside, refocusing on what mattered most: Lily's life. The delay had been maddening, but she had made it. Now, all that mattered was her skill and determination to save the young girl waiting for her inside. The night's events would linger, a stark testament to the social prejudice that still thrived, but Monique's resolve remained unshaken. Her mission was clear, and she wouldn't let anything, not even the shadows of racism, stand in her way. Dr. Monique Turner stood in the sterile, silent emergency room, her heart sinking as the monitors flatlined, signaling the end of Lily's fight. The other doctors looked at her with somber eyes, the weight of their collective failure hanging heavily in the room. Monique's hands trembled slightly as she pulled off her surgical gloves, the reality of the moment settling over her like a suffocating shroud. Outside the room, Sheriff Alan Davis waited, his face a mixture of hope and dread. When Monique stepped out, her eyes met his, and the silent exchange told him everything. His shoulders sagged, and he staggered back, grief overwhelming him. "No," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Not my Lily." Monique placed a gentle hand on his arm, her own emotions barely in check. "I'm so sorry, Sheriff Davis. We did everything we could." Tears streamed down his face as he nodded numbly, unable to find words. The corridor felt colder, the weight of loss palpable. Monique's mind replayed the events of the night, the desperate drive, the unwarranted stop, the precious minutes wasted at the checkpoint. She couldn't shake the thought that if those moments hadn't been lost, Lily might still be alive. As the dawn broke over Springdale, Monique sat in the hospital's waiting area, her thoughts heavy. The encounter with the officers, the gun pointed at her, the disbelief in their eyes. It was all part of a larger story of systemic prejudice that she had faced her entire life. But tonight, it had cost more than just her dignity. It had cost a young girl her life. Sheriff Davis eventually approached her, his eyes red and swollen. "Thank you for coming, Dr. Turner. I know you did everything you could." His voice was thick, with sorrow, but there was also a hint of guilt, as if he understood the broader implications of the night's events. Monique nodded, her voice soft. "I'm sorry for your loss. Lily deserved better." As she left the hospital, the morning light felt harsh, a stark contrast to the darkness of the night before. Monique knew she would carry the weight of this night with her forever, a reminder of the fragility of life and the destructive power of prejudice. But it also reinforced her resolve to continue fighting, not just for her patients, but for justice and equality in every corner of society. The road ahead was long, but Monique Turner was no stranger to long battles. She would keep driving forward, fueled by the memory of those like Lily, whose lives deserved every effort to protect and preserve. Monique placed a reassuring hand on Sheriff Davis's arm, her resolve matching his. "We will seek justice, not just for Lily, but for every person who has faced such prejudice," she said firmly. Davis nodded, his eyes still burning with anger but also determination. "I want those officers held accountable. Their actions took my daughter from me, and they need to face the consequences." Monique agreed. "We need to make this a public issue. People need to know what happened here. The systemic racism, the delay, and its devastating cost. It can't be ignored." In the days that followed, the story of Lily Davis's death and the unjust treatment Monique endured began to spread. Monique and Sheriff Davis spoke to local news outlets, sharing their experiences. The town of Springdale was forced to confront a harsh truth about its law enforcement and the biases that plagued it. Community meetings were held, with citizens demanding answers and reforms. Monique's voice became a beacon for change, emphasizing the importance of addressing racism and ensuring that no one else would suffer because of prejudice. The two officers involved were suspended pending investigation, and the incident sparked broader discussions about race, privilege, and accountability in the police force. Monique's professional reputation shone even brighter as she continued to save lives, now also fighting for societal change. Though the loss of Lily was a wound that could never fully heal, her legacy became a catalyst for transformation. Monique and Davis worked tirelessly, not just to seek justice for Lily, but to create a community where every life was valued equally. The journey was far from over, but with each step, Monique and the people of Springdale moved closer to a future where such tragedies would no longer be possible. And in the quiet moments, Monique found strength in knowing that her fight was not in vain. It was a fight for Lily, for herself, and for every individual who deserved to live free from the chains of racism. Monique's heart swelled with a mixture of relief and determination as she left the hospital. The weight of Lily's death was heavy, but the unfolding quest for justice provided a glimmer of hope. Sheriff Davis's swift action sent ripples through the community, signaling that such acts of discrimination would no longer be tolerated. As the news spread, more stories of racial prejudice within the Springdale Police Department began to emerge. Citizens shared their experiences, and the once muted voices now spoke loudly, demanding change. Monique found herself at the center of a growing movement, her presence and experience amplifying the calls for accountability and reform. Davis, now a man on a mission, worked tirelessly to ensure the investigation was thorough and transparent. He met with community leaders, civil rights activists, and legal experts, determined to root out the systemic issues that had led to his daughter's death. He knew that bringing about true change required more than just firing a few officers. It needed a complete overhaul of the department's culture and policies. Monique, too, found herself drawn into the fight. She attended town hall meetings, gave interviews, and used her platform as a renowned surgeon to highlight the intersection of racism and life-saving professions. She spoke of how implicit biases could delay critical care, turning what should be a routine journey into a perilous ordeal. The community of Springdale rallied together, organizing marches and peaceful protests. The slogan, "Justice for Lily," became a symbol of a broader fight against racial injustice, uniting people across different backgrounds. Monique and Davis stood side by side, their shared grief transforming into a powerful catalyst for change. Under public pressure, the police department introduced new policies, including mandatory anti-racism training, body cameras for all officers, and an independent oversight committee to review incidents of misconduct. The two officers who had stopped Monique faced legal consequences, their actions scrutinized in a court of law. Months later, as Monique stood before a crowd gathered in a park dedicated to Lily's memory, she spoke of hope and resilience. Lily's life was precious, and her memory has sparked a movement that ensures no one else suffers from such senseless prejudice. This is just the beginning, but together we can create a world where justice and equality prevail. The crowd erupted in applause, their voices a testament to the change that had begun. Monique smiled, knowing that Lily's legacy would live on, not just in the hearts of her family, but in the transformed spirit of an entire community. In the wake of the press conference, Springdale began to transform. The protests had ignited a citywide dialogue about race, justice, and the role of law enforcement. Sheriff Davis, once seen solely as a figure of authority, was now a beacon of change, a leader who had faced personal tragedy yet chose to champion a cause greater than himself. Monique, though back in Boston, found herself forever tied to Springdale's story. The city's journey had become a testament to her own lifelong struggle against discrimination. Inspired by the events, she penned articles and gave talks on the importance of confronting bias in all forms. Her message was clear: systemic change begins with personal accountability and the courage to act. Sheriff Davis continued to lead his department with renewed purpose. He implemented policies that promoted diversity, inclusivity, and transparency. His dedication inspired trust, not only within his ranks, but among the citizens of Springdale. The city's police force became a model for others, proving that acknowledging past wrongs was a crucial step towards a fairer future. Monique's letter to Davis marked the beginning of a lasting alliance. Their shared experience became a powerful narrative, one that illustrated the profound impact of standing up for what is right, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. They remained in contact, their friendship a symbol of the unity that could arise from tragedy. As the seasons changed, Springdale saw a shift in its collective consciousness. The story of Lily, Monique, and Sheriff Davis was told and retold, becoming a lesson in resilience and the relentless pursuit of justice. The town's journey was far from over, but its direction had been irrevocably altered. In every corner of the city, from schools to town halls, discussions about race and equality became commonplace. Springdale's transformation was not just about policy changes, but about fostering a community that valued every life, that listened, learned, and grew together. Monique's return to her medical practice was infused with a deeper sense of purpose. Every life she saved, every patient she treated, was a testament to her belief in the value of human life, unclouded by prejudice. She carried with her the lessons of Springdale, a reminder that even in the face of ignorance, the pursuit of justice is always worth the fight. Sheriff Davis, too, found solace in his mission. Though the pain of losing Lily remained, he saw her legacy in the eyes of every young person who now believed in a fairer world. His commitment to justice had become his way of honoring her memory, ensuring that her story would be a catalyst for enduring change. The story of Springdale, of Monique, Davis, and Lily, was a story of hope, courage, and the unwavering belief in the power of change. It was a story that reminded everyone that even the smallest voices could echo loudly when united in the pursuit of justice.